Norman Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. I invite you to join me each week at this time as we explore places to go and things to do. Today we're going to do more than explore. We're going to really delve into what is it that causes us to go out into the world on vacations, on sightseeing trips, finding places to go for entertainment. My guest today is Bruce Bolger, who is a unique combination of numerous factors that will help us understand this. He is the author of travel books. He is also a former editor of Incentive magazine and knows quite a bit about merchandising. And he is also quite knowledgeable because he is director of a show that will be appearing in New York called the Marketing and Selling, and we'll get more into that show. Bruce, so I'm glad you could join us today, and so I'm going to ask you what might be a stupid question. The titles of your books are Short Escapes to Britain, or in Britain, and Short Escapes in France, and the word escape intrigues me. When people go on vacation, when people go on trips, when people go sightseeing, are they escaping to something, or are they escaping from something?
Well, I hate to give you a totally equivocal answer, Norman, but I think it depends. Some people really do escape from the pressures of their day-to-day life. But I think, and this is the essence of travel for many people, it's an escape too. And it's an escape to a world in their dreams. I think all of us, or most of us, dream in various ways. And we have fantasies of life and fantasies of how we want to be ourselves, but also dreams of the way life once was or the way life is in other places. And travel is in a way to escape to these dreams. And really the essence of our book was to create dreams, in a sense, and bring them to life. Many people go to Europe to experience the past. Our goal was to really let them feel it in a way they can't any other way.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the two books. You did this, of course, with an associate, Gary Stoller, and the idea of the books is really off the beaten path, isn't it?
Well, off the beaten path, but very accessible for anybody. The idea was to take people away from the famous tourist sites, but right nearby so that they don't have to make a major expedition. And then really to slow down. Don't just do France in 10 different cities in 5 days. Really experience one village. If you're going to go to Omaha Beach, where D-Day was fought, don't just go to the American cemetery. Walk the beach. Walk up a little footpath where American soldiers, now almost 50 years ago, lost many lives to.
How did you discover these ways to escape to somewhere a little differently? How did you discover them?
Well, we could actually write a book about that, and maybe we should, because people can make an escape to anywhere they want to go when they know how to do it. Hiking clubs were our essence. People in Europe especially, they love to walk, and all over the world, practically in every country that has a middle class, there are clubs of people who walk or hike. And they love to walk and hike to spectacular places. It's their joy to go to a spectacular view, or to go to a special ruin that no one knows about, to go to a little vineyard hidden off somewhere. And in Europe in particular, but even in Asia, many of the footpaths take you to history, take you to where people live, and it's a way to see a Roman fort, or, as I said, an ancient vineyard, or the home of a famous author that no one else will see, and to see it, coming upon it, on foot in the quiet of the countryside, so that you can really experience the mood.
You did both of these books in Europe. Are there plans to expand it and do it in the United States as well?
Yeah, we're going to bring the idea home, and our next editions will be for America, because there are no books like this even in America. There are hiking books that give you wonderful hikes, but most people really aren't inclined to do that. And then there are also, of course, off-the-beaten-track books. What our book does is we create a complete experience. That's why we call this 25 trips to villages, landscapes, etc. in Britain and France, because we give you a little walking tour that gives you the history and the flavor of what you experience, and then we tell you about a country inn or restaurants right nearby that enable you to complete the experience and have a weekend or a little getaway. We kind of combine a walking book with a get-off-the-beaten-track book and design it so anyone can do it from 20 years old to 70.
I'm a great fan of walking tours, but I'm not a hiker. Is there a sense of you have to be in physical condition to be able to go on these trips?
Well, I'm proud to say that I've got a letter recently from a 75-year-old man who came back and did actually one of the more challenging walks. But these walks are designed so that you can do anything from, say, a 1/2 hour little stroll, park your car, and just walk down a little trail that no one knows about to some Roman ruins, all the way up to 5-hour walks for a serious walker. But even those long walks have been designed so you can drive to that little place, get out of your car, and know where to go. There are, in Europe and really all over America, there are beautiful places to see right off that main road that most people don't know about.
Can you give us some a little advance insight into what you're going to be covering in the United States in your future book?
Well, for instance, we are planning a book, of course, for the greater New York region, and most people don't know that right near New York there are ghost towns, the remnants of villages or places that were inhabited over 100 years ago and that have now been abandoned. One in particular is just a short 20-minute stroll in the Harriman Park, but very few people know about it except for, of course, the serious hikers. And you can still see to this day the foundations of the homes and even a graveyard where there's the grave of a man who died on the last day of the Civil War, and a very beautiful verse etched on another grave.
How did you discover this? I have, in the extensive reading that I've done, I've never heard of this, and that's so close.
Well, there's a wonderful organization, once again, called the New York, New Jersey Trail Conference, which I've been a small but regular financial supporter of. I'm a member, of course, and they have wonderful books and maps on all of these places, but they're for the hiker. So what we do is we take these same resources, but we adapt them for the non-hiker, just for the people who are curious and want to live their dreams on a little day trip or whatever.
When can we expect the New York region book to come out?
Well, we'll probably have to be flogged to do it because we do have both of us full-time jobs. Gary's a editor at Condé Nast Traveler magazine, and that keeps him busy. But we would hope next year, or I guess for the following spring, our next books will be coming out. But have to do it still, Norman.
Yes, it's all work. You talk about the fact that both you and Gary do have regular jobs, and let's get into that a little bit because I do want to talk about a lot of the motivation. For quite a while, you were the editor of Incentive magazine, and Incentive deals, of course, a great deal with motivating people in business, but I'm sure that you have some very strong insights on motivation. Again, let's get back to the subject of why people travel. What are people looking for when they are changing from their routine to do something different? What is that motivation? Why do we go where we go, locally, nationally, internationally, and do what we do? What is this great force that motivates us to use our, quote, leisure time in ways different than we do routinely?
Well, I'm not a psychologist by training, so my experience in this area really is that of, I guess, living for 40 years and being, as you say, in the business of how businesses can motivate and meaningfully motivate their employees and their customers to buy. And I think in the end, what explains a lot to do with motivation gets back to what I said at the beginning of your program, and that is that people have an image in their minds regarding everything, practically, about how they think things should be, how they think their life should be, how they think the products and services that they buy should be, how they think their friends and family should be. Mm-hmm. And each of us has our own view of that. And of course, in many cases, our lives, reality does not live up to our view of things, and that, of course, leads to disappointment. But what motivates, I think, people, of course, is that we have sentient beings. We have these senses, and we want to use them because using them makes us happy. Apparently, that's, I think, pretty well documented. So, depending on how curious we are, how actively we want to use what God has given us in terms of our senses, our five senses in our mind, I think that propels us. Satisfaction can only come from using what we've been given to the extent that we've been given it.
And some people are more adventurous. They like to do things that are far away, difficult. People climb mountains. They whitewater rafting, skydiving. They do things that are different because they are so completely different from what they do routinely. And other people are satisfied to go away on a vacation and just lie on the beach for a week.
Well, I sometimes think, and I think it's said of artists, but it might be true of just about anybody who tests life, that the people who push themselves the most in many regards are often the people that have a certain edge in their own nature. They're not happy with the status quo. They are people that are maybe do have an edge of dissatisfaction. Doesn't mean they're unhappy. Doesn't mean that they are moping around every day. But these are people who feel that they will be happier if they push themselves to the limit. Obviously, someone who does nothing all day long must be pretty happy doing that, or must feel pretty content doing that if they're voluntarily doing that.
In business, in incentive programs for employees, travel is a very big factor, isn't it? Travel is something that people will put themselves out so that they can win a certain amount of travel. Isn't that a very large factor in incentives?
Well, companies, especially with their salespeople, but even increasingly with people who have customer contact, because obviously keeping customers happy is not just the job of salespeople today. More and more companies do use travel in one way, shape, or form, not necessarily as an incentive, do this and do that, but oftentimes they'll hold their training meetings or their sales meetings in a special place and encourage the family to be able to come along, even if the employee pays for it, makes it easier for everybody to maybe get away together. Companies that want to forge a close relationship with their employees and really excite them and involve them have found that getting them away from the office to a nice place, even nearby, is a very nice way to do that.
How about yourself? What's the ideal vacation for you? You write about finding these places that people don't know about. You'll lead a very busy life, and we'll get into some of the things that you're doing today in a few moments. But what's the ideal vacation for you? Is it to get away with your wife and your two children and lie on the beach?
Well, I have two favorite types of vacations, and I try to do each one. My favorite type is to go to a place I know quite well, Wellfleet in Cape Cod, and each year me and my family with two children, we rent a house up there, oftentimes with other friends nearby. Because I travel a great deal in my business and I'm on the go a lot. And frankly, I've learned from traveling all over the world that beauty is right in front of your nose if you just look at it. And I'll take a beautiful sunset over Cape Cod Bay any day with watching my children playing in the sand. But the other type of vacation I like to take, and I even do that a little on Cape Cod, is I like to explore. But my idea of going to Europe or Asia is a little different than other people's. I don't go to 10 places. I don't even go to 10 towns when I go to France. My idea of a vacation in France or Italy or someplace like that is to spend 5-6 days in one little village and use that as a base of operations. And yes, I'll go and see some of the famous sites, maybe a little village outside of Florence where I can sure go to see the big museums, but I want to see the little hilltop towns and the vineyards and just wander the streets of a village or the footpaths. And relax while I explore.
And for people who are not going away on a vacation, who people are just looking for things to do in this area, you can do exactly that. Too many times we think that we have to go to the big Broadway show or to the large museum, as opposed to going to the little place that nobody has discovered, like what you're talking about, in Harriman Park, which is close by, and find something that is a little unknown, like a little narrow street that perhaps you've passed hundreds of times and never realized what's in there and the history of it and what signs are still there. And I think you're doing the same thing when you write about them in your books, or you go on your own trips to Europe. And
well, people forget that we live in the New York, greater New York area is a place that people all over the world dream of. And I always laugh when I hear people survey showing that 50% of New York City residents want to leave. I doubt that's true of people who live in Westchester, but maybe life is a little harsher in New York City for many people. And yet these folks forget that people from Indonesia, Borneo, in Malaysia, or Hong Kong, or Africa, or Europe even, dream just one day to see Manhattan and to walk. I work at Times Square, and I don't forget that every day I walk across that really spectacular place, that this is some place that millions of people on Earth covet to see. And we also forget that we live in an area of staggering beauty. Beaches, wild open sand dunes out near Smith's Point that will rival beaches anywhere in the world, or beautiful small but rugged mountains just nearby where you can see the snow-capped Catskill Mountains and the towers of Manhattan from a single rocky point. Or again, to see an old Revolutionary War graveyard, or the remnants of an old French colonial fort just a 40-minute drive from where we sit. All of these things were right around us if we want to escape.
I want to get in for just a moment about what you're doing today. But first, I do want to say that my guest today is Bruce Bolger. And Bruce Bolger, in his present full-time responsibility, and I'll get it straight this time, is the director of the Selling and Marketing Super Show that will be at Javits Center in May. And we'll talk a little bit about that so you can get a larger perspective of what there is out there and available. What exactly is this show?
Well, again, moving from the beautiful and dreamlike world of travel to the more cutthroat world of business today, Norma, a very big change is taking place in business, and it's not a completely pleasant one for everybody, but it is one which creates a lot of opportunities. And that change, of course, has been downsizing, productivity, efficiency. Companies today have to be more efficient, more productive than ever before. And of course, that is painful for the people who are victims of that. But that also creates opportunity for others who see this as the opportunity to come up with new ideas to save time. Well, the Selling and Marketing Super Show recognizes the fact that people today have to have more than one skill. And so we're going to have a trade show that has all of the selling and marketing tools used in business today in one place at one time, but conveniently laid out so that if you want to find information on Salesforce automation, you can find it. If you want information on promotion marketing, you can find it. If you want programs on sales training, or corporate gifts, or incentives, or meeting services. So in a sense, will be 3 shows covering all aspects of selling and marketing under one roof at one time.
Very often the public resents the advertising and the marketing activities, but what people don't realize is that every business, and maybe every individual, really is marketing himself or herself to other audiences all the time, and there are many skills that are involved with it. And I suppose that these skills and these techniques and these materials is what's being made available to the marketing professionals that are out there.
Well, yeah, and I happen to agree with people's concern. I have 2 young children now, and they're being assaulted by advertising, which is, I think, massively misleading, and it concerns me a great deal. And so I believe very much so in aggressive and talented selling and marketing. But at the same time, I believe in ethics. And I think anything that is powerfully effective can be abused and is abused. But that doesn't mean we should banish it. So I promote and personally practice to the best of my ability selling and marketing that is respectful of individual rights, that is not too intrusive of people, that helps them achieve their goals. And yes, indeed, our show is really designed to help people in a very quick day or 2 of their lives bone up on marketing techniques, selling techniques that they may not be aware of that will give them a more competitive edge, even just to keep their jobs or to expand their business. Travel
is an important part of the show because there's one particular phase of this super show that is devoted to travel. But travel, I suppose, cuts into all of them.
Yeah, the neat thing about the show is that there are 3 shows in one. There's the International Selling and Marketing Expo, which is all the selling and marketing services a company could use, from audio-visual, point of purchase, direct marketing. Then you have the Meetings and Incentive Travel Expo, which is basically how companies can use travel as a motivational or communication tool within their organizations or with their customers. And then we have the Premium Incentive Show, which is all the top brand name merchandise and promotional products that companies use to create excitement in the business world, or simply to thank a customer.
What are premiums? I think not everybody understands what a premium is.
I sometimes wonder what a premium is myself. It's not a word I use, but we bought the show, and the Premium Incentive Show has been in business for 55 years. And but a premium refers to really an inexpensive merchandise item that you would give to somebody, or in a marketing program. I think some people would call them ad specialties, but to me, it's just sort of an irrelevant word.
They're imprinted items like keychains or desk sets or clocks.
It can be more than that. It can be a premium would be if you look on your package of Uncle Ben's rice or some other product, you'll see if you send in $5.99 in a box top, you can get this. A premium is really any type of merchandise used in a promotional vein. But I think the nomenclature is dated. I don't think there's any necessary. I think the word is kind of silly. I think simply promotional products or incentives is more understandable to people.
Let's get back to my favorite subject, and yours, I know, because of the books, and that is travel, recreation, and leisure. I get the feeling as I read your books that the world of adventure is out there. It's a great world, and you don't have to really go far, although your books do cover Britain and do cover France. But adventure is out there, and a lot of people don't participate in what's all around them and around us here, either because of a lack of knowledge or a fear of the unknown. And how do people overcome that? How are companies, how are organizations motivating people to get out there and experiment and try and discover and learn?
Well, I think, again, I hate to beat a dead horse, but it does get back to this issue of dreams. The travel, to really appeal to people, travel marketers have to appeal to our dreams. And you have nothing to do but look at the travel section of the Sunday paper or at your favorite magazine to see that you'll see lots of four-color photographs of wondrous things, castles. In fact, advertising is an incredible way to find out what business people think we're dreaming about, because advertising is nothing but the business of matching what people sell to your dreams. So when you see a castle overlooking the Rhine River in an advertisement for Germany, those people have decided that that's your dream of Germany. That's what you want to see. I think that one of the great ways that we all seek to break away from our mundane day-to-day world is to go into this dream world in one way, shape, or form. And even when I go for a walk but 20 miles from here on a footpath in the forest, I daydream. I read up in advance about what I might see, about who lived where I'm walking. There are often wonderful stories, legends.
Make it all come to life by checking into the background, knowing something about it, so you're just not driving by a tree or a house or a building that means nothing to you.
Well, a wonderful example is not far from here at all. In fact, millions of people pass it each year on Route 87. Is something called the Schunemunk Mountain. And Schunemunk Mountain is an Indian name. I forget what it means. But what's interesting about the Schunemunk Mountain is that there was a group of Indians that lived there, and they found remnants of their society, of their culture, down on the Jersey Shore. So we now know, or experts have told us, that the Indians who lived at Schunemunk Mountain wintered at their mountain and spent the summer at the Jersey Shore. So it sort of lets us know and puts a perspective that we talk about our world being the modern world, but the world maybe doesn't change as much as we think. The people who lived 1,000 years ago, they went by through their days like we do our days, and it may not have been as different in a funny way as we think.
What I want to do is to make sure that our viewers will have an opportunity to get further information about some of the things that you've been discussing today. Is there a telephone number that we can give them that they could call to find out about any of the phases of what we've talked about?
Well, for our books, all they have to do is go down to their local favorite bookstore and ask for Short Escapes in France or Short Escapes in Great Britain, published by Fodor's. And, of course, if anybody's interested in the Selling and Marketing Super Show, we do have an 800 number, and that's 800-950-1314.
Why don't you repeat that?
That would be 1-800-950-1314.
And we'll put that up on the screen in the closing credits so anybody who's missed that can get that down.
Well, thank you.
You talk about dreams, and that reminds me that my motivation, I recently, on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, went down for the first time in my life to watch them blow up the Macy's Thanksgiving balloons. It was quite an adventure, and it was just something that I'd seen on television. I can't remember if I ever actually saw the parade, but it was like New Year's Eve with all the thousands and thousands of people who were there watching this happen. And it takes place from 7 to 11 p.m. on the Wednesday night before Thanksgiving, and people are invited to come. Now, that was an adventure. A few years ago, on New Year's Day, I went to Philadelphia for the Mummers Parade.
Yeah.
And I'd seen a lot of it on television and films, but had never seen it actually, and it was kind of a dream. It was a fulfillment. I don't know if I'd ever go back again, although I did go a second year. I always like to do that when I've discovered something. The first year I learn how, and the second year, once I know how, I enjoy it a lot more, so that works very well.
Well, perhaps you fit into that category of person who's just curious, plain old curious.
I don't know that I fit into any category. And what's your dream? What is the place that, with all the traveling that you've done and all the knowledge you have, what's the place that you like to go to?
Well, as I said before, I'm already planning my summer vacation up on a sand dune overlooking Cape Cod Bay, where I'll do my homework and dream about what it was like when the Pilgrims and Indians were there.
But you do that all the time, don't you? That's not new, is it?
No, and maybe the lesson I've learned, as I said, from traveling everywhere is that beauty isn't far away at all. It's often in the most familiar places.
And repeating what you enjoyed does not necessarily make it stale. If you enjoyed it once, you could enjoy it again.
There are so many grains of sand to explore in Cape Cod, I could be there the rest of my life, or I could be at another special place. I'll try to do both. Is
that what you do in Cape Cod? You sit there and count the grains?
Almost.
But watching, of course, there's a great pleasure in watching the children running around and seeing the world again through their eyes. Of course, that makes a big difference.
That's part of the whole thing.
Yeah, I find that with youngsters, you have to change your plans quite a bit and maybe not do things the way you did them as adults. And one of the things that we have to do is to make our plans to say goodbye because we've run out of time. And I thank you very much for joining us here today and talking about Short Escapes in France, Short Escapes in Britain, and the Selling and Marketing Super Show, which is coming up in May. My guest today has been Bruce Bolger. He's talked a little bit about why we do what we do when we escape to interesting places. My name is Norman Liss. The name of the program is The Way to Go. Until next week at the same time, enjoy yourself.